Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And you probably wonder, what is Steve doing on the roof? Well, this is the roof of my workshop and we just had it rebuilt. It now has metal panels with insulation on, and it's replacing a 1-year-old cement panel based roof. And you're probably going to wonder, well, why the hell do you replace a cement based panel 1-year-old roof with this type of a roof? And I got some pretty good reasons for that. The initial roof was built in 1988 and it was covered with cement-based panels, and these panels had at the time asbestos in it. Now, as long as it's bonded, it's not an issue, but as soon as you start cutting in it, or you break in it, or they deteriorate, then you really should replace them. And in fact, we all need to replace them anyway, I believe before 2035. So I decided to replace that old roof with new cement-based panels about a year ago. So the panels that you see laying here are the panels that are going on the roof, and those are completely asbestos-free since many years.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of an aerial view on what we have done so far. So this big barn that you see here with the gray roofing is actually the barn we're changing, and on the left-hand side we've been able to remove most of those panels, but that's tough because a lot of the greens actually started to grow on it, so we had to use a chainsaw to cut it free. So we lost quite some time on that. Now the new panels are asbestos free, and it's what we call cement panels. They are very strong, but it takes almost like a two-man lift to lift them up. I also have some skylights, and these are in very thin material, but that's more than good enough. Now the structure is still very much intact in the barn. You can see here the big beams, and that's where these panels are resting on, and the red metal beams is the real support of that roof. So we advanced quite a bit that one day, and we almost finished that one complete side in one day. And it was a bit of work, but with about 4 people, things are going pretty fast, and my old forklift came to the rescue. Now these panels are pretty heavy. They're about 30 kilograms a piece. So really, to position them properly into place, you really need 2 people to do that. Otherwise, you're not gonna get them properly aligned. And you might have noticed these cutouts on the corners. That is necessary because these panels need to overlap. And if you're not careful, they will actually kind of toggle on these corners. So you need to have that kind of a cutout to have it properly fitted. So all these panels are bolted down with stainless steel bolts and a cap on it. Obviously, it takes a bit of grinding because all of these panels need to be corrected so that they fit properly. And here you see the barn on the second day, and you already see the skylights that we put in. And here is a close-up on those new panels, and they are pretty thick and very solid and completely asbestos-free. And here we have the old ones with lots of asbestos in it.
And these are the old panels that were on the roof since 1988, and they contain asbestos. So you have to be very careful that you don't break those, that you don't cut into them, because otherwise you could have these asbestos parts coming free, and you don't want to inhale this. So that is something to be careful with. The people that have it removed from the roof, I assisted a bit, but we all did wear a mask at some time. Although it's still pretty well bonded, so the risk is fairly low. These plates will then have to be shipped off in a special container and packed, but this is once we have removed all the other panels on the roof, and then we should be all right. So in one day we were able to place all these new panels on the roof, and I have a couple of skylights in there as well. Of course, at the inside I will still have to remove the insulation panels and then make sure that I have also skylights underneath. So last year we removed all the asbestos-based panels from the roof and replaced them with brand new Eternit cement panels that are completely asbestos-free. So the new panels were then installed in accordance with the installation instructions, and we didn't do nothing special. We followed every single instruction. They were bolted down on the rafters on the second wave and always on the high side. Within a week after the installation of the new cement panels, 50% was cracked. The piles that you see here are all the ones that were cracked. So we had to remove them from the roof, all of them, and install a new metal-based roof with insulation. And here you see all the panels that we took off, and all of them are actually broken right in the middle. The panels were installed with stainless steel bolts, like you see here, and they are self-tapping. But whenever they are installed, you got to make sure that you can still slightly rotate the part here. If you cannot, then it's too tight. And you do that, of course. See, now I can rotate it. Now it's a little bit too loose. But when we installed it, we had a torque screwdriver that would just apply the right torque. And this is about right, maybe just a little bit more. I can understand if you torque them too far down, it can crack the panel. So let's see if we can get this one cracked. Now, I'm saying that because we had an inspector from the factory coming over to look at these panels, and he said we installed them wrongly. Now, I can hardly believe that, because see how hard I need to tie this down before it even tries to crack. But let's continue and see if we can make it crack. I mean, this is like, we never tightened these things that far up. You know, you really have to torque it down real hard on this wave. You know, I can't get it cracking. I don't think it's gonna crack at all. So, you know, as you can see, it's practically impossible to have these panels cracking. The only thing that happens is that it sinks down into the panel. It opens up the hole even bigger. So, you know, this is what it does, right? Look. It just makes a hole, but it doesn't crack the panel. But this crack is what we had on all the panels, so something was wrong. And the interesting part was that it was always right in the middle of the panel. Now, each single panel in this pile here is cracked in the middle. You can actually see it. This is where it cracked. And this is kind of weird because all of them did it exactly in the same spot. So I've got 50% of the roof panels that cracked right in the middle, which is kind of strange. And that center line was always typically on the fourth or the fifth wave on the panel where we had the bolt in the middle, which according to the instructions are very normal to install an additional bolt. Now you've seen on the other panel, the bolt, if you tighten it too much, it just pulls through. Not in this case, and not on the case of the roof. Everything cracked. And it's kind of interesting to see how this actually breaks. It looks like there are layers in it. So there's a lower layer, then there's an upper layer, and I haven't seen it anywhere else, but these cracks all have this symptom. I was initially thinking that this could have been caused by the fall-through protection. So let's see if I can show you where that protection is. And here it is, and you can see this is not really bonded at all. I mean, you know, there's no cement on this plastic at all. So that is actually a very weak spot, and you can see how that fits in between the two. So a lot of the cracks I actually contribute to the fact that there is a fall-through ribbon very close by to the wave where we have been bolted on. My advice to you is don't buy Eternit cement-based panels. I know the company probably is going to be mad at me and pissed off after I published this video, but it's a reality. Now, they have come over, they looked at it, and they claimed that it was an installation fault. I didn't see any installation fault because we just installed it the way it was supposed to be. None of the bolts were over tight. Everything was perfect. I think all these panels that you see here, they had a construction issue. Something went wrong during the production, because I don't think I'm the only one with this problem, and maybe I am. And if I am, then I just got really unlucky. But I do think that this fall-through protection, this plastic ribbon which is inside, which is not really sticking to the cement panel, is a weak spot. It's like two layers on top of each other of cement panel with a separation in the middle. it's kind of a empty channel, elastic channel inside the panel. And I think this is where they start to bend, and that's where they break. But again, I am no expert in this, but my advice is get the right stuff, get good panels, get the metal panels with insulation on, stay away from these cement-based panels, because at the end of the day, it costed me twice to do the roof. The top of the roof was actually installed with these panels here, one on the left and one on the right. But you can already see all these little cracks that are forming on the surface. I don't think that's quite normal after 1 year, to be very honest. And here we have a close-up of that panel. Look at that, on how that is kind of layered, right? You can actually see a lower layer and upper layer. Pretty badly bonded together, so I'm not surprised that this is cracking. You would really think that you would get some kind of a small compensation for this problem from the factory, but oh no, that is not possible. In fact, they put the blame all on the installer. Now, I know that the installer didn't do anything wrong because I've checked it and I did help him out as well on the roof, so I know it was installed properly, but there is nothing you can do about it. Luckily, the installer was so willing to say to me, look, Steve, I will replace them all, we'll put a metal roof onto the workshop, and I will only charge you the material and I will not charge you any labor. So that was very kind of him. But again, it shows that you got to watch out with these cement panels, and maybe you have some experience with it, different than mine, but mine is bad, so I would be by no means inclined to recommend any Eternit cement-based roof panels.